Okay, so the gods of Easter brought me down the gift of I used to share my sister's Hulu account and I lost access after they stopped, like they did what Netflix did, you can't share anymore. But for whatever reason I clicked on it by accident and it let me in. So I had to choose wisely what I was going to watch. So I took the plunge and I watched Dying for Sex, right? Cuz I said at the beginning I had no interest because it looked dumb to me. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then I remembered after the girl Nikki Boyer was on Juicy Scoop for the second time after the show released, because she was back on it years ago talking about the podcast. Back then, she talked about how her and her friend, this girl, had the podcast. And now, years later, it's a series on Hulu, so she's back on Juicy Scoop. So I have a few thoughts. I went ahead and watched the show without listening to the podcast. I started to listen to the podcast after I watched the show. I think I've heard like 3 episodes. I skipped through the part of like them talking about her sex experiences with men. I don't have any interest in that. I don't know, for whatever reason it's boring to me. I'm like, whatever, you touched someone's penis, I don't care. But the other parts, I'm trying to hear if I'm missing any information. So my first thought is, if they were doing the podcast during her, like towards the end or during her journey of being sick, why didn't they show that in the series? I feel like that's a huge component of the story. Also, the series should have a tiny bit of narration as far as this is where we were at. We were doing a podcast. I've been married for 15 years and I got a second diagnosis. Like, I feel they left a little bit of information out. Fine. They kind of dumbed it down. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. The show kind of dumbs it down and makes it a little bit rom-com-y. I don't know. Like, I feel like they could have done a better job of making it like the real story. Like the fact that they were doing a podcast, the fact that if you listen to this podcast on Juicy Scoop, she says during her last few weeks in the hospital, they brought in all these lawyers that were doing business the whole time because she wanted to give her friend the full rights of her IP for all this, for the books, for the shows, for the series, for everything. Just so she could do what she wanted with it. So I think that's pertinent information. I feel like that should have been shown. I don't know. And then the guy that she fell in love with. So the reason I thought the show was stupid before I realized it was a true story and who it was is because it's so dumb to me. Like, I'm sorry. I think most people, and she has her reasons. I'm not like discounting what she felt, but if you're going to pass away, yeah, sure, you might want to explore sexually, but that's not all you're going to want to do. I feel like they made it look like that's all she wanted, and that to me is a little bizarre. Like, maybe you want to spend a little more time with your mom or your family, or travel a little bit, or take a sewing class, or whatever you didn't have time to do or push to the side, but it's like you only want to mess around with idiots. Like, I don't know. I feel like they kind of dumbed that down a little. So for instance, her neighbor that she fell in love with, spoiler alert, she fell in love with her neighbor at the end. If she would have explored that from the get-go, she would have had more time with him and like had that genuine connection and better intimacy, because that leads to better intimacy. Like, all the other things she did with the guys were stupid. It wasn't even pleasure, Anyway, so those are my thoughts. I'm not judging or anything. It's just like, that's what I think when I watch it. I'm like, she should have just like explored it with that one guy, maybe had a few one night stands, but done other stuff too, but whatever. I just have questions. I have more questions. The show was, it was fun. I still didn't really love it. I love her story. I love like the friendship and that it's a true story. And I like that. I think they could have done a better job. I think they made it look silly with all the stupid guys, and that's it. I think it's interesting too. I'm going to write a little blog about it. I think it's interesting how the irony or the connection of live like it's your last day. It's literally impossible to do that unless it actually is, right? So you could say that to yourself all you want. You can write in your journal, you can do a mantra, but you're not going to actually be able to physically live it like it's your last days unless you know it's actually your last days. And that's just like interesting to me. Like it's not possible unless it's true. No matter how much you try, it's just not possible. Life is too routine and struggle with everything we have going on. Like, you're not going to do it. And if you're not going to die soon, it's just really going to mess up your stuff. So I think that's interesting. I'm gonna write a little bit about that. Yeah, but I don't know. There were some things that weren't believable. Like the end of her days in the hospital with the guys she was in love with. I never remember anyone's name, but that didn't happen. The hospitals don't allow you to have sex in the hospital room. A nurse is not going to come in and check your temperature or give you something while the guy's going down on you. That didn't happen. So that bothers me because I feel like it's not a true story. They're not showing the reality. They kind of dramatized it and dumbed it down, in my opinion. I know a lot of people love the show, but that's what I thought when I was watching. I'm like, this didn't happen. I didn't see her dad go visit her. Like they just left stuff out. And I just like, if it's a true story, I want to see the truth. So I feel like they robbed us of a lot of the truth. The guy that she was in love with, did he never go see her before she died? What? How does that happen? And interesting too, this girl, the friend, Nikki Boyer, the guy that she like reunited with at the end, her boyfriend, she's no longer with him. She's married to someone else. I don't know if she ever married him. So she's no longer with him, which is, I thought they were cute. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I found it super unrealistic. So I know it's going to be an unpopular opinion. Everyone's going to come after me, but those are my thoughts. They didn't show the real deal. I don't know. I hate when they do that. They take a true story and they want to make it like Hollywood, and it ruins it. I want to see reality. I want to see the nitty gritty. And they only give you pieces and they dramatize bullshit like they did with the Menendez brothers. It was so stupid, that latest, I think it was Netflix. They made it look so dumb, and then no one liked the show because it doesn't look real. Ugh, I don't know. That's like a pet peeve of mine. Like, I really can't. And you think with all these talented writers and production people, they would understand that. Like, if you watch this crap, would you think it's real? Like, no. Anyways, I do love the story. I do love the friendship. It did make me sad. There's parts that made me cry, but that's only because of the death of it, like the emotion between the two people. But it wasn't realistic enough for me. There's too many loopholes. There's too many holes. There's too much dramatization of like unrealistic stuff. Yeah, that's it. And I swear the last thing I would think of is humping a bunch of strangers. If I had 2 weeks to live, I would like want to visit all the dogs in the world and do stuff I never did, and maybe sprinkle some of that in, but it wouldn't be just that, like a dog wanting me to pee on him. Like, no, that guy dressed up as a dog. Anyways, but that was what she liked, I guess. That's what she wanted to do. I just find it odd. I can't relate. I just can't relate, but who knows? I haven't been in that position. Those are my thoughts. I'm going to write about it a little more, and I'm going to finish the podcast. Maybe I'll have more thoughts after that, and I'll let you know.